Castle Hill, New Zealand, a land of mysteries and legends. Nestled amidst the towering Southern Alps in the Canterbury region of New Zealand's South Island, lies the enigmatic and mystifying geological formation known as Castle Hill. This unique landscape of limestone rock outcrops, rising up from the sweeping tussock grasslands, has been intriguing visitors for centuries with its otherworldly appearance and aura of ancient mystery. The distinctive jagged peaks and rock formations, carved over millions of years by the forces of nature, resemble remnants of some fallen medieval castle, giving the area its evocative English name. To the Maori, the indigenous Polynesian people of New Zealand, it is known as Kura Twaiti, meaning treasure from a distant land. This reflects their traditional belief that the rocks originated elsewhere, brought to this place through supernatural means. Archaeological evidence indicates Castle Hill has been a site of fascination for many generations. Maori tribes were present in the area from as early as the 14th century, indicated by remains of rock shelters and camping sites. The commanding position overlooking the Canterbury Plains and valleys made it an important lookout point for defensive purposes or for spotting approaching visitors. But it was the boulders themselves which held the most cultural significance. The striking and peculiar shapes were woven into tribal myths and legends, seen as manifestations of Atua's powerful spirit, guardians. Certain rock formations were identified as having monospiritual authority and power, giving the landscape as a whole a sacred, mystical aura. When European settlers began arriving in the 1850s, Castle Hill gained new layers of intrigue. Its likeness to the ruins of a great castle fed into romantic Victorian ideas about discovering traces of a vanished medieval civilization in the antipodes. Some speculated whether ancient Welsh or Celtic wanderers could have once inhabited this remote outpost. One of the most colorful characters involved with Castle Hill's myths was the self-styled Baron von Tempsky. Arriving in Canterbury in the 1860s, von Tempsky fashioned himself a flamboyant, aristocratic persona, claiming descent from Polish nobility and a career as a cavalry officer in Europe. He became fascinated with the area, spinning fanciful yarns about discoveries of gold and precious gems in the limestone ridges. The Baron supposedly came into conflict with the secretive Knights of the Southern Cross, a mysterious order said to be guarding hidden treasures and messages left by the ancient stone masons who carved Castle Hill's formations. This unlikely tale of medieval brotherhoods and mystical codes captured public imagination, despite there being no evidence for the organization's existence. Von Tempsky leveraged the publicity and speculation around his claims into a successful career as a newspaper correspondent and writer of adventure novels. During the early 20th century, interest in Castle Hill's origins and legends was fueled by the spread of pseudoscientific and occult ideas, part of the boom in alternative archaeology and pseudo-archaeology spanning the Victorian and Edwardian eras. Theosophists, followers of controversial Russian mystic Madame Blavatsky, proposed the limestone outcrops as evidence of ancient lost civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria. Amateur archaeologists like S. Percy Smith believed the distinctive rock shapes held symbolic meaning and were carved by pre-Maori peoples as a star map, part of an occult astronomical code. Others, like surveyor J.N. Wilford, saw the formations as too perfectly designed to be natural, instead believing them engineered by the biblical lost tribes of Israel. Mainstream researchers decisively rejected such fanciful hypotheses, but their outlandish ideas, generously covered in the press, succeeded in enhancing the intrigue and notoriety around Castle Hill's origins. Tales of the site being a remnant of antediluvian cultures, a canvas for esoteric secrets, a focus of paranormal energies, or a beacon to UFOs, have continued to proliferate. This air of mystery and mysticism helped turn Castle Hill into a magnet for members of 20th century countercultures seeking sites of spiritual power and Gnostic secrets. During the late 1960s and 72nd, New Age travelers, hippie communities, and psychedelic explorers made pilgrimages here, part of a wider boom in ley line and earth magic beliefs. For modern spiritual seekers, Castle Hill's enigmatic stones and ridges continue to provide inspiration for personal myths and private meanings. The minimal human impact on the area adds to its resonance as a primeval place of natural wonder. A site for vision quests, spiritual awakenings, and communing with elemental energies. Yet despite the flowering of wild legends around Castle Hill, science has provided prosaic explanations for both the origins of the rocks and the meanings ascribed to them by cultures past and present. Geological evidence indicates the limestone formations took shape through erosion, the work of rainfall, freezing conditions and strong winds over an immense timeline spanning more than 50 million years. Researchers propose layers of alluvial gravels brought by an ancient river system, later compressed into limestone deposits, which were gradually lifted skyward by the same tectonic forces that raised the southern Alps. As the softer surrounding sediments eroded, the more resistant towers and outcrops of Torles supergroup limestone were left standing. Ongoing erosion continues to carve and shape the rocks today. From an anthropological view, legends tying Castle Hill to lost civilizations reflect wider human tendencies to project. Imagine myths onto striking landscapes as a way to make sense of their world. Culturally specific stories come to unfold sites like this, layering human meaning and memory onto the land. The Maori saw the rocks as manifestations of spirit guardians, while Victorians recast them as ruins of medieval castles or temples. Each view nestled in their own cosmological and storytelling traditions. In our scientific age, Castle Hill retains its aura of otherworldliness and mystery, continuing to fire spiritual and flights of fancy. The whimsical forms echo our individual dreams, imagination, and desire for enchantment. Against the immensity of geological time and origins, our human histories are like fleeting shadows on the rocks. What stories and meanings will these sentinel stones gather over the next 50 million years? The land holds its secrets, while we pass though weaving our brief threads of myth and wonder. In some ways the profusion of legends enhances, rather than obscures, the magical allure exemplified by Castle Hill. The richness of stories reflects the place's enduring grip on human consciousness over the centuries. While soil and seasons change, the hill remains fixed, absorbing the unfettered projections of culture and ego, fable and folly. To contemplate and explore Castle Hill is to tap into something eternal and essentially mysterious. About the relationship between humanity, storytelling, landscape, and the longing for magic. Today, Castle Hill is protected as part of Kura Twaiti Conservation Area, guarding both its natural and cultural heritage. The otherworldly beauty and stones steeped in legend draw tourists, hikers, photographers, climbers, and mystics to experience something ineffable in this time-carved citadel. Those who come seeking gnosis may be disappointed. The true enlightenment lies in simply bearing witness to the wonder of eroding forces endlessly crafting beauty. As so many have learned before, Kura Twaiti relinquishes its secrets slowly. But for the patient observer, with imagination unfurled, a kind of sorcery dwells in Castle Hill's stones.